Hi everybody, welcome back to Seedlings, the beginner's guide to literally everything homegrown. Today we talk about the 3 top tips I have for germinating carrots. Number 1, okay, so this is my garden. We just come out of winter, so I was giving it a bit of a break. Okay, so we've got our carrots over there, and our carrots over there, and our carrots over there. If you look closely, you can also see there's a bottle, and if I open it, we've got another carrot. I'm going to try zoom in and show you. Got another carrot under our bottles. Okay, I'm not sure if it shows very clearly, but it is a carrot over here. Oh no, this is a weed, sorry. This is a carrot over here. Okay, and another one over here, and this was all covered by the bottle. Okay. So if you noted just from that the soil was damp. So my first reason is don't let your soil dry out. As soon as your soil does dry out and you have transplanted your seedlings, they are quite weak and frail at the very beginning, so you want to keep the soil nice and moist. Okay, so they don't struggle to find moisture. Knowing the carrots do try to dig right deep down for moisture, you want to keep moisture at the surface of your soil, so at the very top basically. Very few couple of centimeters. You can even feel with your fingertips to check how deep the moisture has went down. Don't overwater, of course, but try water once a day. Okay, our areas get quite hot. It is leaving winter, so early summer now, early spring, sorry. So it does get a little hot, but once a day should be enough. I've also covered it while it started growing. If you look very closely, you can see there's a shade cloth right here at the back. Okay, so if it is quite young and it's hot, the shade cloth might come in handy until it gets nice and firm and can stand on its own. Okay. Another thing to note is that if you look very carefully, all the carrots, some of them are actually covered with plastic bottles. So I took a 2-liter bottle and I cut half of it, and I got just a little mini greenhouse effect going around for most of the carrots. And these were the carrots that were weak at transplanting. So this goes to tip number 2. If you know you struggle with growing carrots directly into the soil, don't do it. Don't do it. You're wasting seeds. Don't do it. It's a little unorthodox, but I grow my carrots in paper towel and then I transplant them, and that helps. I've received good results from that, so you can do the same. Use paper towel first and then transplant once it has roots. It's as simple as that. You don't always have to direct sow and fuss about if it's going to germinate, if it's not, has the seeds disappeared, where are they. So that's what I do, paper towel first and then direct sow. Okay, going back to tip number 1, after you direct sow, you want to make sure your soil always stays moist. And if you saw earlier on, the soil was quite damp. Even where I removed the bottles, the soil was quite damp. Tip number 3. Tip number 3 is that you do not want to keep it in direct sunlight while it's still seedlings. As you can see, I use a shade cloth or bottles for covering. So once it was still young and frail, I would throw the shade cloth over. Okay, so I'll pull the shade cloth right over all the seedlings and cover it like that. Okay, so now it is a bit strong, so I'll tell you that your carrot seedling transplanting, whatever you want to call it, has survived. Okay, I'm going to show you now how you'll know. Okay, so you'll know your transplant was successful if you see, so these are your first true leaves. If you see this branch that almost looks like your carrot branch right in the middle start to come out, that's when you know that your transplant was successful. This one has a 2, you know it's very successful. Now it will last. You don't have to worry any longer about keeping the soil damp. Even if it does dry out now, it won't die because of this beautiful carrot leaves that has started to grow. So apart from the true leaves, we have new set of leaves growing. That's how you know it will last. Okay, another point that I want to highlight is that when you do use plastic bottles after direct sowing or after transplanting, you'll notice they are substantially bigger than the ones that were just sitting without. Notice the size of that true leaf, how beautiful the leaves are. Of course, these are in the same perimeter. I will then thin them out as time goes on, depending on which one looks stronger. Okay, that's what hasn't started to come out new branches, so you know that still needs watering, keeping the soil damp until the middle bit of leaves has started to come out. That one has started a bit, so it will survive. That one too has started a bit. So it's a whole line of carrots. It's a small one over there. And this has worked for me. Of course, you do have weeds that you have to pull out, but that shouldn't be a problem. Carrots are pretty strong. There's all the weeds trying to take over. Of course, when something does start to grow, we do get weeds also trying to grow in that same space and compete for land. Those are my 3 tips. Use soil to cover up the roots. If the roots are starting to come up, use soil and cover up those roots. And push soil to make sure the roots stay covered. It is a root crop, so you can't have the roots exposed. Cloth. Make sure it's not too hot where your carrots stay. Remember, they do prefer cooler weathers than hot weathers. Even though it's not summer yet, sometimes the temperature does rise, so using a shade cloth or mini greenhouse does help. Of course, creating holes for it to breathe. There's holes for it to breathe, for it to escape, so it does. I'd stick to what works. And for me, it's been using paper towels and then directly sowing them after they have started to germinate. For me, that has been the most successful, then by just tossing seeds into the ground and waiting for them to come out. Most of mine actually haven't germinated that well that way, as opposed to using paper